Welcome back to my channel, Shades of Steph. So today we will be covering the topic of foundations for beginners. And this is also going to include some color correcting as well as concealing, because you really can't do one without the other. But before we get started, if you are new to my channel, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified of my future videos. And without further ado, let's get started. So when I think of my makeup routine, I think of taking multiple steps and putting them into buckets. So the first bucket is going to be our skincare, and that's going to include cleansing our skin, moisturizing, and adding an SPF. So before any product goes on our skin as far as makeup, you need to do those 3 steps. And of course, we covered those in my previous video, which is the skincare for beginners, which kind of does a deep dive into why those 3 are so critical and so important before makeup application. So the next bucket that we have is going to be priming the skin. In my foundation primers for beginners video, I emphasize how important it is to know if you're working with a water-based or silicone-based primer and why it's critical to match it with the same formula foundation. So for example, if you're working with a silicone-based primer, you must use a silicone-based foundation, otherwise they will separate on your face. So as long as they match, it'll just marry beautifully over your skin, and your makeup's going to last 10 times longer over the course of the day. The next bucket in my makeup routine is going to be focusing on the face and creating that beautiful canvas to apply the rest of our makeup. And we do this by color correcting, applying our foundation, and concealing the under eyes. Alright, so I've removed my makeup so we can walk through these steps together. I've already prepped and primed my skin, so we are ready for some color correcting. Not everyone needs to color correct their skin. If you look in the mirror and you don't see any discoloration on your skin, then you can just simply skip this step. Obviously for me, you can see a lot of redness here from my rosacea, and those are going to be the places that we're going to color correct today. To know what color that you need to use when color correcting, you're gonna have to think back to those days in elementary school when you learned about the color wheel, because opposite colors on the color wheel are going to neutralize each other. So in my case, to neutralize the color red, we're going to apply a green color corrector. So when color correcting, we're only going to use a small amount. You don't need to try to conceal the area that you're looking to correct, because again, we're correcting, not concealing. So here, I'm just gonna go in with just a few spots, and we're just gonna take it from there. I'm going to use a damp sponge just to kind of dab it, fill it in, and blend it out. You want to be very light with this, especially since I have rosacea. I don't want to act any area up and make it more red. So we're just going to have a very light hand. There are different formulas you can use. I'm using a liquid. There are creams that are going to be a little more thicker, and I do use those as well. I would say liquid blends a bit better, and creams, I think, for me, if I'm just really inflamed on one particular morning, I might go in with a cream corrector, just because it is a little bit thicker and will give you a little bit more correcting coverage. But again, we don't want to go too heavy on it, because then you're going to get that green tone underneath your foundation, so that will not look good. Alright, now that we have both cheeks neutralized and it looks pretty good, I would say majority of the redness is gone. So then the next layers that we add to it are just going to smooth right over the top, and it's just going to give a very clean appearance to your skin. So for foundations, I would say the trickiest part is going to be color matching, because you're either going to have a pink undertone, a yellow undertone, or just a neutral tone. My foundations have a neutral tone, which seems to work best when my skin is color corrected. So after I cleansed, moisturized, and protected my skin, I did add this primer. This is Touch in Sol's Icy Sherbet Primer. This is a water-based primer, so of course, as we learned, we want to match it with a water-based foundation. So today I'm going to be applying True Match Foundation. This is an excellent water-based foundation, really sits well on the skin, does not sink into your pores, and lasts for hours. It's one of my favorites. So one of the first things that I do when it comes to applying foundation is I just pour a little bit, if you guys can see, I just pour a little bit on top of my hand just because it's a nice base, easy to spread. I can dip my sponge into it and then onto my face without having to touch the palms of my hands where there's oils. Start with this side, and we're just gonna go in with a dabbing motion, keeping it very light. I do like to go pretty close under my eyes, and you're just gonna work your way across. Now this foundation is a medium coverage. I do like that even though it's medium, once it kind of settles in, you're able to go in and build upon it. So you could almost get a full coverage with this. And this is gonna be more matte, which I prefer as far as finish. All right, so as we can see, this side looks really nice and blended. You can barely see the rosacea peeking through. Of course, having a little bit of redness does help, in my case, just because it's almost like a natural blush. We will go ahead and do the same thing on the other side and get fully blended out. All right, foundation is on. Everything looks very blended. I'm very happy with how this is turning out. I think now we can jump into concealer. So what I like to start first is to put a little bit of concealer on my ring finger and then lightly go in and just dab underneath my eyes. So of course I'm gonna bring it in as close as I can get to the center and bring it out and kind of go upward with it. Because once we blend it out and you move upward, it's going to give you a more lifted look to your eyes. Next, I'm going to go in with a smaller sponge, and this is going to help blend it and get it really close to the corners of your eye. You just want to lightly tap, and again, getting as close as you can to your eye and bringing it upward into the hairline. And I think using a damp sponge is really best for this because our eyes will naturally have creases around them, and the dampness just kind of helps smooth out the product as you're working it in. And as you can see, it's giving a really nice appearance, very bright, lifted towards the outer eye, and I just think this makes an overall brighter appearance to your look. All right, now that we've concealed both of our under eyes, I'm just gonna go in with a little bit of setting powder just to lock it all in. And of course you can be very light-handed here. I just literally like tap on top with the powder. You do not need much powder because powder is going to dry out that area, and especially if you do have any creases, it will sink in, so be very, very light-handed with that. All right, so here is our final look. We have the color correction, we have the foundation on, and then we concealed our under eyes. I quickly stepped off camera just to add a little bit of bronzer and some mascara to finish the overall look, and I think it turned out great. So thank you guys for joining me. I hope you learned a lot, and stay tuned for next week's video because we will be mastering the contour and getting that chiseled jawline that everyone loves. If you're new to my channel, make sure to follow this face on Instagram and Twitter, and I will see you all next time.